Sandler here with you. Hope you're having a great week so far. Happy Friday. Happy third birthday to my beautiful niece, Ella. Getting ready to celebrate Ella later today. Excited about that. Hope you have some great weekend plans as well. Going to talk Rangers today. We'll get back to some Cowboys on Monday, and we'll get back to our normal schedule next week where typically we do Cowboys on Monday, Rangers on Wednesday, and a grab bag on Friday. But we didn't do anything on Wednesday. We had a few interviews instead. So going to talk Rangers. We got to go over the schedule. Just a few camp observations, and then Willie Calhoun. Want to dive into Willie Calhoun's 2019 and how he can improve here in 2020. A few housekeeping notes first, though. Would really appreciate it if you'd consider doing any of the following things. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video. Comment below, or reach out to me on Twitter at Jared Sandler and share your thoughts. And then share this link, this video with your friends. Anyone you think who might be interested would really appreciate if you would consider sharing this content. Also, I've been broadcasting with this boring background of a fake plant you see over there, and then blinds and a white wall. So I figured I'd join in on the fun. So you see I got all my books right here. I got a math award right here. And then I figured I'd put a picture of me and my beautiful wife, Blake Lively, right there. So just wanted to introduce to you the various elements of my background. All right, so let's start with Summer Camp 2.0, whatever we're calling it, Spring Training 2.0, who knows. A few observations. And before we get there, let's take a step back and remind people, first of all, at this point, all they've done is inter-squad scrimmages, and some of these inter-squad scrimmages have featured a catcher in left field, like a bullpen catcher in full gear in left field, coaches all around the diamond. Yesterday, Cody Allen was pitching, and there wasn't a center fielder or a right fielder. So, to say that these are the most organized and game-like situations, probably not the truth. Now, it's not like they've been going up there with like a 55-mile-an-hour pitch machine and just taking hacks off of that. I mean, there are parts of it that, certainly replicate a game. The pitcher-batter interaction is certainly that. But it's an exhibition at best. And an unorganized scrimmage is probably a more likely or a more apt definition. So how to parse these results, it's really just like spring training. It's tough to know. It's really tough to know. On the hitting side, the two guys who've stood out are Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and Rougned Odor. Both those guys have a lot to prove offensively. With Izzy, it's just a matter of whether he can have, the type of success that would warrant an everyday role at the big league level. And for Rugi, it's just the ability to show he can do that consistently. I think what stood out is that Izzy is doing things that we really haven't seen him do in the regular season before in terms of driving the baseball. He's really been a light hitting player. Yes, he has a few home runs, but whether it's the home runs or the other bats, he's not a guy who really threatens for extra base hits. He doesn't drive the ball with any sort of force, or hasn't. But going back to Arizona in February and March, and then continuing here in July, he's really driving the ball. I mean, he's hitting the ball further than we've ever seen him hit the ball. And so I think that's a positive takeaway, because it's something we really haven't seen him do before, whether it's in past spring trainings or regular seasons. With Rugi, we've seen him do everything he's doing right now. We've seen him have month, 6-week, maybe even 2-month stretches where he's one of the best players in baseball, which means that he's able to do all the things that he's doing right now. So I'd say that the guy who's been more impressive from a takeaway standpoint is Izzy, because we're learning more. With Rugi, we got to wait and see. But those two have been the best offensive players so far in camp. I want to highlight a starter and a reliever. The starter is Corey Kluber. Got a chance to watch him yesterday. Boy, I'll tell you what. Obviously this guy is really good. He's won, a couple Cy Youngs and multi-time All-Star, special pitcher. But watching him yesterday was really, really fun. Nothing he throws is straight. His sinker's got some great horizontal action to it, and then late diving movement that creates the ground balls. And also, allows him to get a lot of knee bucklers in the box. He had a strikeout looking, I forget against whom, but using that sinker was nasty. His curveball has been one of the best pitches in baseball over the last few years, and it's not your typical 12-6. It's more of a 1-7 or 1-9, I guess, probably more of a 1-9. It's got a lot of horizontal movement to it. And then it just, watching him locate and the fluidity of his delivery, I'm sure he'd tell you he's still got more work to do to get ready for the season. But just from the layman's eye up in the press box, that guy looked like he was big league ready today. And that was fun to watch. And then on the relief side, a guy that I've been talking about really now for about a year. It was about a year ago this time, 2019, I was like, hey, you got to watch out for this guy out of the bullpen. So maybe I'm biased, but Jonathan Hernandez. You got a guy throwing 98 to 100-mile-an-hour sinkers. He's got the ability to go multiple innings. He's really stood out big time so far this camp, and I think he's someone who's going to end up being a really, really valuable piece out of the Rangers bullpen. All right, let's go to the schedule quickly. We're going to do a good and a bad. The good is that the Rangers' schedule is very front-loaded in terms of favorable opponents, at least based on last year's results and maybe our perceptions and thoughts for this year. 22 of their first 27 games are against teams who lost 85 or more games last year. So if you believe in a 60-game schedule, 60-game season, that getting off to a good start is way more important than in a 162-game season, I guess it helps to have a favorable runway before the takeoff point, and you've got that in this schedule. Now, of course, you're not just going to avoid good teams. The back half of the schedule is pretty heavy in terms of good teams with the Dodgers and lots of games against the Astros, 10 of them, all 10 of them. You got Oakland, I think, for 7 games in the back half. You're going to have a tough go of it. But, I guess if you were to start the season 5-12, you're out of it probably from the start. At least if you get off to a good start, you're able to ride that wave and perhaps find yourself in the playoffs because of that momentum and the confidence you build early on. I think the tough part is that the Rangers have 3 off days in the first, less than 2 weeks, really. And you'd like to see your off days more spread out for a number of reasons. But what it's created is a gauntlet that starts in mid-August and carries through to mid-September, in which the Rangers play 30 games in 31 days. And in that stretch, they're playing some of the really good teams. They're playing the Dodgers. They're playing the Astros. They're playing the Oakland Athletics. Yeah, they do have a series or two maybe against Seattle mixed in there, but 30 games in 31 days is really tough, especially when you consider in a 60-game season, you're not just going to sit Joey Gallo to give him a day's rest. I mean, every game is worth about 3 games if you were to extrapolate over a 162-game season. Games are of greater importance, so you're going to have to find creative ways to get guys rest. Maybe you're up or down 7 in the 7th inning. All right, Joey, get off your feet for the last couple innings. Elvis, if you're an everyday player, get off your feet. Willie, get off your feet. That's how you're going to have to go about it, because it's going to be tough to foresee, Joey Gallo just sitting a game. Why would he? Why is he sitting? We just, needed to give him a day's rest. Now, that might happen once. I don't expect it to happen multiple times. And if it does, well, then that's not a good sign because I don't think that they're going to do that unless the player absolutely 110% needs that degree of rest. And at that point, maybe as a manager, you have to do it, but you certainly don't want to. All right, so let's go to Willie Calhoun. And by the way, next week we're going to talk about bunt or not to bunt in extra innings. It's an interesting discussion, and I think there are a lot of variables in play here. You can give a blanket answer, I hate bunts, or let's bring the bunt back, but I think that it's important to consider a lot of different factors. Who's on the mound? Who's at the plate? Are you the home team? Are you the road team? Who's the opponent? Who's coming up for the opponent? There are a lot of factors. We'll get into that next week. All right, Willie Calhoun. And I'm going to do a deep dive on Joey Gallo when Joey's back in camp. But I wanted to do it on Willie today. How can Willie get better? What are the areas in which Willie can improve? Well, let's just quickly profile Willie. He's not a big guy, but for a guy his size, he's got a great deal of power. But what really stands out about him is this unbelievable hand-eye coordination. he's got the ability to basically get bat to ball on virtually any pitch. And that certainly helps in terms of avoiding the strikeout. He gets fooled and ends up swinging at a curveball well below the zone. He's got this unique ability to just, flick his hands and get the bat on the ball. And that's a great thing in some respects. That's also a bad thing in some respects, because when you know that you can hit anything, you go up to the plate with a more aggressive mindset, because I think there is a thought sometimes, well, if I put it in play, then, whatever happens, happens. As long as I'm not striking out, right? Well, with Willie, I think the next step is for him to harness his great bat-to-ball ability and maybe dial it back a bit and not swing at so many pitches out of the zone. Because, as a fan, when you're watching, if Willie swings at a pitch and he grounds out to short, you don't really think anything of it. Oh, he just, didn't strike out and ground out, didn't make great contact, but whatever. But when Joey Gallo goes up to the plate and he strikes out, oh, there's Joey striking out again. The reality is, what Willie is doing, at least based on what Joey's profile was last year, what Willie's doing is probably less sustainable for long-term success, because Joey, while, he doesn't always avoid pitches out of the strike zone, Joey became one of the best last year in not chasing. Joey has some holes in the zone, and we're going to get to that next week or when Joey's back. But Willie is swinging at pitches outside of the zone. As a matter of fact, he would chase at a rate of about 35% last year. League average is 31%. So it's not terribly egregious, but you definitely have him on the wrong side of that fence. Now, why does he, in his mind, why is he wired to swing at pitches outside of the zone? Well, how about this number? On pitches outside of the zone in which he swings at, he makes contact 70% of the time. Well, what does that number mean, Jared? Is that a good number? Is that a bad number? League average is a little bit below 60%. Willie is one of the 10 best at making contact on pitches outside of the zone. All right, so he has a unique ability to do so, but that's not necessarily it's not a horrible ability, because at times just putting the ball in play is good, but you want him to tighten his focus, because I might be able to put my bat on the ball on a pitch that's a foot outside, but I'm not putting the good part of the bat on it. I'm not putting myself in a position to drive the ball. One of the things that Willie does, and I think is developing certainly a trend in doing so. Last year, he swung at the first pitch 57% of the time. League average around 30%. 57%. So, if I'm a pitcher, why am I throwing him a strike? Why am I going to throw him anything good to hit first pitch if I know that he's going up there hacking? So, I think that's another statistic that suggests that a little more patience would be beneficial. Now, why? Why? I mean, listen, he had a good year. Why not just keep doing what he's doing and see how it plays out over a full year? Well, how about this? Let's take a look at Willie's success on pitches in the zone versus Willie's success on pitches out of the zone. And we're going to use the stat WOBA. You might have seen it, WOBA. Now, we're not going to break down into what it means, but I'll tell you a general idea of what a good WOBA is equal to what we would consider a good on-base percentage. So you got a WOBA of about 340. That's about average. If you got a WOBA of about 370, that's really good. 380, awesome. 390, unreal. 400 plus, wow. That's you're one of the 5 or 6 best. And WOBA, just all you need to know is it's a stat that attempts to be somewhat of a catch-all offensive stat. And if that doesn't do it for you, I'll tell you this. A lot of front offices, if not most front offices, value WOBA as an offensive measuring stick as much as any stat that's out there. Okay, so it's an important stat. On pitches in the zone, Willie Calhoun's WOBA is 390. All right, so remember that scale I just presented. We're talking like perennial all-star elite status. All right, maybe not one of the 5 best in Major League Baseball, but he's gosh dang near, approaching that. The league average WOBA on pitches in the zone is 340. So to give you perspective, Willie has this really special, unique ability to do two things. One, just make contact on just about anything. But two, find the barrel on pitches in the zone. He's got a really, really good ability to have great success on pitches in the zone. Well, Jared, doesn't everyone have success on pitches in the zone? No. We were actually talking about Rougned Odor earlier. One of Rugi's downfalls, if you look at, when he was really good in 2016 versus, the time since, is his inability to have that damage, that success on pitches in the zone the way he did prior. Willie has consistently demonstrated that ability. We just now need to see Willie be more selective and try and pick those opportunities in the zone more than the opportunities he's picking outside of the zone. Because when he swings in the zone, it's not just that he's better than when he swings outside of the zone. That's common sense, you'd think. But it's that his ability to do damage in the zone compared to the rest of Major League Baseball is really, really special. So if you're looking for an area in which Willie can improve for this year, it's being more selective and attacking pitches in the zone way more, or maybe better put, attacking pitches outside of the zone way less. All right, there you go. That's our conversation for today. Again, would appreciate if you'd like or comment, subscribe, or really just share. The more eyeballs on this, the better. Would love to grow that scope of Rangers conversation. You can always reach out to me on Twitter at Jared Sandler. Looking forward to that dialogue. We got some videos coming out today and then again next week. If you're not familiar with the channel, we have all sorts of content, commentaries from me, interviews with friends and experts, and fun stuff and serious stuff. So I would encourage you to browse the channel to check out some of the latest content, and looking forward to sharing more content with you here as the days go on. All right, that's going to be it for today. Wishing everyone a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon.